Good evening, council members, everyone that's here. Time is 7:06 p.m. I announce that a quorum is present, and I'm going to call to order the city council regular meeting. Ask that everyone please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, bow your heads. Dear Lord, we just thank you for today. We thank you for those who have gathered today. We ask you to bless the city staff, the residents, the city councils that are here to conduct your business. Let's continue to keep you first in all that we do. Thank you for the continued blessings you continue to bestow upon our community. We thank you and ask all these things in your son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, you may be seated. All right. Okay. Want to make sure, just pause and make sure y'all are set up over here. We're good? All right. All right. Before we get started, just want to remind everybody in the audience about decorum. This is a business meeting, so I want to make sure that everyone that's coming up to the podium is addressing city council, not anyone else in the audience. If we have to give warnings, then we will ask for individuals to be escorted out for a violation of the decorum. Thank you all for being here. We'll start off tonight with our presentations. Item A, Avalon Manor.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. We've got
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Dr. Harvey?
Doing well.
Thank you so much for having us. So we will introduce ourselves and then talk a little bit about the project. So my name is Anna Wright, and I am the Senior Regional Manager that supports Avalon Manor. And this is Megan, who is our Community Manager. So she is boots on the ground at Avalon Manor. So good to see some of you that we saw at our recent open house. But just to share a little bit for those that don't know, Avalon Manor is a brand new apartment community that just opened just a couple minutes down the road. And we are really excited because it is the first community in Manor to partner with the city of Manor as a public housing organization. And so we have market units, but then we also have half of the property that's dedicated to offering apartments that make sense from an economical standpoint. So we're very excited about partnering with the city of Manor. We have a great team in place, so I'll let Megan talk a little bit about her team, and then we'll just talk through a couple highlights for the property. We do have a presentation, but for some reason we can't get it open, so we will send it out after the fact as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Megan. I'm the community manager at Avalon. I had the pleasure of joining the community in late August. We're anticipating construction being wrapped up in March, and we have a fantastic team with us, plenty of experience and really supporting both our residents and the community. We've had the opportunity to really get out and meet some of y'all and just really immersed in the community.
So as part of our partnership with City of Manor and the housing program, as I mentioned, we have 50% of the property dedicated to well-appointed living spaces that are at good economical rental rates. So we partnered with our ownership group recently because there's always been a stigma around the world affordable when it comes to housing. People always think that it's going to be in these questionable areas or, not the best product. And that's definitely not what we feature at Avalon Manor and not what we want to present. So we decided that we were going to rebrand and change that strategy. So we no longer promote that we have affordable housing. We promote that we have what's called the Avalon Advantage program. And what we have decided is that means elevated living, but within reach. And so we're really excited to continue to partner to change that stigma around affordable housing and offer brand new luxury apartments at pricing that makes sense for the community. So we have 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms at the property, and we have specific rental rates just for these units. And the qualifications for the program, lots of people think, oh my goodness, affordable, it's going to be like tax credit where I have to fill out 30 different pieces of paperwork and provide a blood sample and all of those different things in order to qualify. And that is not the case. We have a very simple process. It's 1 additional piece of paperwork that someone has to fill out. They provide their same proof of income just as they would for any other regular apartment. But then if they qualify, then they get these reduced rates, which will really help ease the burden in their household. And so we are really excited to hopefully be able to bring in as much city employees as well as people from surrounding cities, because there's not a lot of immediate affordable housing in the area. And so we're really reaching out to partner with the school district. How can we support the teachers? How can we support all other City of Manor officials? We met with Chief of Police just recently. How can we support the officers as well and try to drive as many folks into the community that are looking for that affordable housing? And the income, there are income limits, but they're reasonable. And so most of that demographic that we're trying to appeal to will fall within those and can get a beautiful, gorgeous home in a great community for a really simple process. So we're really excited about that. The property, like we mentioned, is brand new. We've got a great amenity package. So if someone lives at the property, they'll have full access to an amazing fitness center that's open 24 hours. It's massive. It has all kinds of equipment. I know Ms. Wallace was there with us, and we were making jokes about some of the equipment of how we could even jump on some of those things. And so access to that, a stunning swimming pool when it's not raining and gross. We will have lots of outdoor spaces, lots of family-friendly spaces that we're really excited about opening up and sharing with the community. In addition, the interiors of the apartments are just stunning. You've got, quartz counters, beautiful, elegant cabinetry, hardwood floors, all the perks and whistles, but at affordable rates, which we're really excited about. We also, as Megan mentioned, are really partnering with the community. So we have a very strong resident referral program that we're promoting. So as people move in, if they refer other people to live at the community, not only do they get an incentive, but then their person that they referred gets an incentive. So we call it a give and get program in order to try to get more people to refer people, because we want people that are referring people, because then hopefully they're going to be good residents and good stewards of the community. We also offer a preferred employer program. So stretching just beyond City of Manor, we're also partnering with Tesla and Samsung and Applied Materials to try to drive some of those folks here as well, along with Amazon and Dell. But they'll get a small little rent discount as well, in hopes of just kind of broadening our horizons and building our community as well. Oh, goodness. And then, the other piece of the property that's super important to us, as well as our ownership group, is really immersing ourselves and being a part of the community. So Megan and her team have already just kind of hit the ground running. Megan and her team have visited several of the schools. We've taken tacos and breakfast to the teachers a couple times. We're signed up to sponsor several in-service luncheons and events in 2026. We delivered, probably 50 breakfast tacos to the fire department. And then just today, we delivered 2 large raffle items for their firefighters, like celebration luncheon or dinner that they're doing next week. Those will be raffled off. We visited the police stations. We've just tried to really immerse ourselves in everything Manor, so that people will be familiar and they know that we have a commitment to supporting the city as well as the businesses in the city as well. And then last but not least, we're just really excited to be a part of this. Manor holds a very special place in my heart. I grew up in Pflugerville, but my mom worked in public health and worked at one of the public health clinics in Manor as a nursing supervisor for about 30 years. So when I was a kid, there was none of this. It was farms and cows, but really excited to be a part of this. Really excited to partner with the city and the community and help support the growth and the development of Manor. With that, we do have some brochures on the property as well as some business cards, so we will leave those in the back. We also will leave a little sheet for if anybody would like to request information or schedule a tour. We will have that, and Megan and her team will contact you and set that up. But happy to answer any questions if you have any. I know most of you are familiar faces already, but
The dog park and the dog wash.
dog park, the landscaping is completely finished. We actually just ordered a really fun agility equipment package for the dog park. So there's going to be things you can crawl on, not you or I, but the furry friends, things you can jump on, crawl on, and then the dog wash is right out front of that. Also, since you were last there, Miss Wallace, our Amazon lockers are in, so those are all installed. Pool has been fully turned over, as well as our outdoor area behind that I don't think you got to see last time, where the fire pits are, and then outdoor gaming. And then we have one additional amenity area that's in the back part of the property that'll be delivered, call it late February, March. And then we've also decided on the 2 games that are going to go in the arcade. So those are being ordered. So that will be another fun space inside. And then more of those outdoor amenities have delivered as well. So.
Other questions, comments, council members?
Have you received any positive or constructive feedback from the community since you've been going out to the community?
Yeah.
It's been very well received. It's been phenomenal getting out and just getting to know the community. Of course, like we're coming by with sweet treats, smiles on our face, and really just getting to know everybody. I think that's kind of the joy of first starting a community. We've got a brand new team, brand new shiny product, and really just putting our best foot forward, making those genuine connections and getting to know everybody a little bit better. So it's been received well, and we're excited to continue growing that.
We also got an opportunity this past Monday to meet with Ashlyn and Stephanie, who are a part of your team, obviously, with marketing and outreach. And so we are working to set up sponsorships for events that City of Manor has going on in 2026. We also shared, and I think we talked about this when you guys visited as well, that we're happy to open up our space if there's ever meetings or trainings that anyone needs to have. So I know Ashlyn and Stephanie were both very excited about that. We spoke with Chief about having some trainings and some sessions there as well. So I think 2026 will be a very busy time for the property, hopefully for leasing and move-ins, but also with our partnership and different events that we can host, not only at the property, but out in the community as well.
Other questions?
No.
Just my comments is just, again, thank you all for being here tonight, and for the entire company. You know, I just want to thank you all for the partnership. When we started talking about affordability and trying to figure out how we could have a high quality apartment complex that would bring quality, comfort, and esteem to individuals that didn't necessarily have $110,000, $120,000 a year
Sure.
As the kind of average Austin AMI, and we want to be able to ensure that we built something that provided dignity and support.
Yes.
So thank you all for that quality, and also for the programs that you extend to try to continue to recruit in more families in the main area.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure, and we're excited to continue to build it and grow it and partner with you all. So thank you for the opportunity as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. All right, council members, we're going to go into public comments. Public comments are either on the white or yellow card. If it's on the yellow card, comments will be taken from the audience member on non-agenda and agenda items combined for the time not to exceed 5 minutes total per person on items except for public hearings, and all public hearing items, when we transition to those, would be 2 minutes during per person. So for public comments, we have one, and I will keep the time, Mr. Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was such a great presentation. They didn't have anything to show us what it is, and they're such great partners, they left. And they got a round of applause. Are you talking to me, young man? I'm sorry?
Excuse me.
She's pointing at me for some reason, and I'm just asking her why she's pointing at me.
I already gave us a warning for
This-
today. I gave, just stay on your agenda, okay?
Let me give you a warning, sir. In the Texas Constitution, there's something called the Bill of Rights. And Article 27 is something that has to do with remonstrance. Remonstrance is my lawful right to say just about anything I feel like. So I don't need a lecture from someone that's putting townhomes on top of black graves about what decorum is. Do you understand? And I don't appreciate you saying a prayer just because you can't find any other preacher. How come Christianity is the only thing we ever talk about? Is that the one true religion? I don't think so. I think basically you guys have been running a corrupt organization for probably the last 20 years. And I'm having to come out now and teach you guys how the laws work. You don't get to cram 20 pounds of you-know-what into a 5-pound agenda. You don't get to do half of these things without the full reports. So now I find problems, I find solutions too. You need to post briefcases on our website so that when these developers come up, they don't just show us what they want to show us. They show us the entirety of their project from day one. And if they don't do that, and you don't show them everything, you're breaking the law. That's the TOMA, the Texas Open Meetings Act. And as you know, I'm filing municipal court reports. We have a municipal court of no record here. That's corruption. Unfortunately, you guys like the corruption. And the city attorneys are the prosecutors. How ridiculous is that? The courts of no record are in 85% of Texas towns. I gave you a chance to be a leader. So there's some other things on here. I would like to thank our translators. Someday we'll be able to translate into Spanish, maybe. What do you think? Maybe another 5 or 10 years? And I'd like to thank the Manor Heights people for coming out and showing a good support. If their developers, ripped them off and told them there was a green belt there, they need to sue. The only weapon we have is lawsuits. Coming here and talking to you guys is like next to nothing. We have $100 million. You can't put a ping pong table in 10 years. Why is it that you don't want to fill the parks in? 2 of these people up here are on the Parks Committee. They've kept the Art Park a parking lot for 3 years. It's because you got bamboozled into thinking this is what Manor wants. They paid $318,000 for this. And now that you have found where the city is supposed to be, which I told you like 3 years ago, closer to the center of the ETJ, you need to rescind the comprehensive plan. You couldn't even read it. You couldn't even proofread it. You wasted $318,000 on that. You did such a crummy job that when I pointed out that the survey was linked to the wrong city, they gave back $138,000. And then we set up 5 town hall meetings, but the mayor got so embarrassed at the first one, he canceled all of them. That was a $50,000 ripoff. So anyway, I hope you're going to have fun at the mayor's ball. That's basically a slush fund. Last year it was $31,000. You pretended it was a fundraiser. It lost $31,000, and you opened the bar and drank like fish for free on our dime for $5,000. While the parks are empty and you're drinking like there's a big princess ball. You guys need to I'm in favor of a mayor's ball when our city is worth a hoot. Do I have any more time?
Yes, you have a minute. I'll stop you when you finish.
Someday we'll get a timer light here. Do you think this costs $200? Do you want me to buy one for the city? No, that'd make Robert look good. You know, we have something that we can do. It's called a message board. It has to be one click away from the web page. And then you guys can all talk to each other. You can even talk to the Charter Review Commission. You know, the secret organization you're doing? This is our Constitution, and you're doing it in secret. And every time they meet and do something, I'm going to try to get every single one of all you guys a fine of up to $500. That's what the municipal court can do. It can't throw anybody in jail, and there's no record. You can lie your you-know-what's off, and the worst that can happen is you'll get a $500 fine. I've got 34 of those in right now, folks. And some of them, it's all the city council and half the staff. Just the leaders, the people that do the actual work. They think I'm a hero. They know I'm a hero. But a lot of people they just don't want anybody to teach them. They think they can't learn.
That's your time.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to public hearings. Conduct a public hearing on a rezoning
I'm sorry,
application.
Mayor. May I interrupt? I'm just going to recuse myself from this item.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Conduct a public hearing on a rezoning application for one lot on 2.786 acres, more or less, and being TCAD parcel 236902, also known as 12725 U.S. Highway 290, Maynard, Texas, from agricultural to IN-1 light industrial. Let's see, Mr. Burrell.
Mayor, Council, my name is Michael Burrell, Development Services Director for the City of Manor. This zoning request is for the property just behind where ASCO currently sits. They're requesting to change from agricultural to light industrial to continue the genre of use that currently exists in the area. Staff is recommending a zoning of C3 heavy commercial because it allows for light industrial use, but it's also more in line with the comprehensive plan, as that area per the plan is designated as neighborhood mixed use. So with the opportunity for retail or some citizen oriented service in the area would be more beneficial down the line as ownership changes or the city continues to develop.
Questions, comments, council members?
Michael, have you heard any questions or apprehension about the items that were mentioned for being removable or allowable uses? The ones that
The recommended to be removed. I've not been told of any apprehension to the list as it's presented.
Thank you.
Have you received any comments from the people that you had to reach out to, or outside of that?
We did not receive any comment on this item particularly, though we did have conversation with the potential buyer of the property and what the zoning categories would mean in terms of development for the project. And he is here for questions if there are any.
Other questions, comments?
You said there's someone here.
Yes, he is present.
Are they available? Hi.
Carson Bird. Thank you guys for having me tonight.
Yes. So I'll ask you, do you have any issues with the recommended removal of certain uses?
And that's for the C3 removal of services, correct? That was presented in the Planning and Zoning Committee, correct? Yes. So we're still trying to pursue a light industrial zoning rather than a heavy commercial. The reason for that being that the conditions of use in terms of streetscaping, buffer yards, fence screening, paving requirements are quite a bit heavier in the C3 heavy commercial, and we feel like these don't align with what this area is going towards and heading towards. We feel like the light industrial makes more sense for this area, especially with this area not having wastewater lines, not being a public road. It's still a private road that isn't even paved yet. And so we feel like this area really is trending more towards the light industrial, and your future land use map, it has it as mixed use neighborhood. And so, even C3 doesn't really account for kind of that future use. And so we feel like with the property in front of it being light industrial, this area obviously already having several light industrial users. Light industrial, it makes honestly more sense than kind of just throwing out a random zoning because, you know, it seems right. Because if you're not going to go for if you're not going to align with your future land use map anyways, then we feel like a zoning that actually fits what the uses are would make a lot more sense.
Thank you.
What do you know what is intended to go there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the buyer of the property, which is us, is what we do is we buy properties and then we have a few tenants that we work with that are equipment rental companies. So it'll be the exact same use as what's right in front of it, which is ASCO and Anderson Machinery, which are two of the largest equipment rental suppliers in Manor. We work with, we don't know exactly which company it'll be yet, but we work with companies like Sunbelt Rentals, United Rentals, those kinds of heavy equipment companies that service residential growth in areas like this one.
Again, and with the close proximity to the fire station, you don't anticipate any issues there?
With what? With any business being there? No, we wouldn't have any concerns there, I don't think. You're talking about the fire station that's across the street, correct? Yeah. No, we haven't considered any concerns. There's currently a business that's operating similarly to what we'd be doing, but is not exactly the same, and they're doing just fine.
You were discussing the requirements for the buffer yard and everything, being less stringent with but it appears that your buildings will be, or your equipment will be right there backing up against homes.
Correct. Yeah, so obviously we understand that there will be a buffer yard and you know a need for that. The requirement in C3 for the buffer yard is higher than in light industrial, which obviously takes away usable area and adds an added layer of cost that we just don't feel like is necessary.
Other questions?
Michael, can you explain a little bit more about the land use map and why C3 is recommended?
So when staff looked at the future land use map and the neighborhood mixed use, we tried to find a meet in the middle solution, because typically when you request a zoning, you're not able to do something completely offset from what the original request is, but something adjacent is allowed. With C3, it allows for that light industrial use, but it also provides for the retail shopping aspect in the event that, as we're all aware of, New Katy is next door. It gives the opportunity for future ownership or tenants to provide those shops, services, and stores, things of that nature, at some point in the future when the time comes, while also providing a bit more of a buffer between the industrial use that's currently contemplated in the current residence.
Other questions, comments? Yes,
May
sir.
I add one? So if a C3 zoning was considered, obviously we'd like to push for light industrial. One of the items that was removed was a transportation terminal on C3, and obviously we have no intentions of leasing this to a transportation terminal tenant or constructing that. We feel like the transportation terminal does add a little bit of gray area for a lot of these tenants that use 18-wheelers or heavy trucks. And so, like ASCO or Anderson Machinery that's right in front of this, if we were to go C3, we would like to request, we're fine with the other modifications added, but we would like to request that transportation terminal be added back in as a allowed use, just for the fact of knowing that these tenants will be needing 18-wheeler or flatbed truck operation.
That uses is just to drop off and pick up equipment, though, right?
Correct. Yes, it's not a distribution center, but correct.
Other questions? So your request for that language to be in there is basically because you want the potential business to be able to come in and drop off, and you're wondering if the language not being there is going to prevent that.
Yes, we'd like to make sure that the traffic of trucks is not going to prohibit a tenant having allowed use there, and we feel like transportation terminal could add a level of gray area there that is not necessary.
Can you provide clarification, Ms. Burrell?
So in terms of a function as primary use, I'm not certain if it would be limited if the primary function isn't a transportation terminal, but rather these trucks are coming to drop off equipment or transport it somewhere to a job site. But with this being the first reading, what we can do in between now and the second reading is get further clarification and provide a clear insight as to what that means to ensure that if this recommendation does proceed, the business is not hindered through lack of clarity.
Thank you. Other questions or concerns?
Are the roads in that area satisfactory for that type of traffic?
So we're currently working on the improvement of that roadway. It is not what it needs to be now, but to that point, development of the property can't occur until I'm blanking on words right now. The correct standard road is built to allow for platting and ultimately development of the site.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take questions, comments, or a motion.
Our council to Councilmember Wallace inquiry about the roadway. We are working with ESD 12 and working with ASCO and Anderson too, and Mr. Brian and Fry, which is the property owner to the west and south of Anderson, to make improvements. And one of the things we're trying to accomplish with that is to have another route to the neighborhood once George Bush is extended to get to Emu. That way the response time for the fire department would be per standard. If not, they'd have a longer way around to get to Bell Farms or Carriage Hills neighborhood if there was an emergency. So the goal is to make sure the road is improved, not only for Anderson and ASCO, but all the businesses. So we have another through street, north-south connector for the city. And so that's the goal, is to make sure we have another north-south to connect Old Highway 20 to 290.
Would there be any conflict with the big rigs coming in to make the delivery and the fire trucks getting out?
I think timing wise, if there is an emergency, most vehicles will pull to the side if there's a response. So I think just more so the road needs to be up to standard, because right now it's not a standard road for everyday travel, and that's what we're working with all the property owners to improve that, but also for the fire department to be able to go south into the neighborhood.
Other questions, comments, or a motion? If there's no other questions or comments, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing on item number 1.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Ware. Any questions to the motion? No questions to the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. right, item number 2, conduct a public hearing on a subdivision concept plan amendment for Manor Downs Industrial being 7 lots on 146.92 acres, more or less, being DCAD parcels 247 972, 247 974, 247 987, 247 986, 247 984, 247 973, 477 389, 247 911, and being located at 8916 Hill Lane, Manor, Texas. And we have Mr. Robert, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And can we start seeing the site plans up when we do an item? You know, we have people at home that watch this too. We need the site plans up on everything, please. Can you put the site plan up for this one? Pardon me? Can I see the site plan, please? Okay, you guys really got bamboozled completely on this one. Basically, you sold us out like a bunch of chumps. The site plan that we're not seeing here, it's this green pipe that you see on the bottom here. This green pipe. They left that in phase 1 so that the city would pay for it. This is the effluent from upstream. How come we are paying for that? Is this our new business to just pump the you-know-what of other cities? The fact that you have a pumping station on our park lot, and then you're going to block the entire Sunset with a warehouse. And this is going to be and you called it an amphitheater? This deal, they came out of Austin because Austin wanted them to spend $3 or $4 million mitigating environmental stuff and fixing the roads. But they said, well, let's go to Manor. They'll give us $8 million and we don't have to do nothing. They never planned to fix Hill Lane ever. They got bamboozled to P&Z to turn them into 7 lots so they could spin off the whole area south of Hill, and they're going to get that developer, put a subdivision there and just absorb that. These people need to go to the Manor Commercial Park. That's why we put it there. Do you guys not remember when you put that there? That's where the big robot warehouse boxes go. They go down toward Elgin. And if you don't want to put it there, give them some of that great East Development 1 land. We got 100 acres there. Do a land swap, Mr. Jones. You know how to do that. You guys, the developers and consultants and bond salesmen have taken over our town. Do you understand that? You're handing it to them on a silver platter. And once again,
That's your time.
thank you.
Mr. Burrell.
Mayor, Council, this item is a concept plan amendment, which essentially accounts for the lot layout and making an adjustment to the lot conveyed to the city to actually remove the lift station off of the lot being given to us and put on the developer's property.
Questions, council members?
And it will be maintained by the developer?
Yes, this is a private lift station to be maintained by them.
Other questions? And then I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing on item number 2.
Motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, conduct a public hearing, Manor Heights, on rezoning, Conduct a public hearing on, on a rezoning application amendment for the Manor Heights Carry-On subdivision, approximately 1,655 lots on 548.5 acres, more or less, and being located at the northeast corner of US Highway 290 and Old Kimber Road, Manor, Texas, from Planned Unit Development PUD to Planned Unit Development PUD. And Mr. Robert, you have 2 minutes. Mr. Robert Bataille, sorry.
Sorry, I thought you said.
No,
Did you ask for me?
Yeah.
Apologies.
I would prefer to have spoken after these fine folks. This basically illustrates an ongoing problem we have, where these developers put in properties. They even put in what they like to call a park, and then they just sort of abandon it and go away. My question is, why can't we spend some money in this, quote, park? As I understand it, it's a dedicated area. Maybe they have a bench, but maybe they could use a shade structure. Gee, never thought of that. So what I'm trying to say too is, if these developers, and they do this a lot, Shadow Glen developers do this all the time. They try to pretend that that park over there is a Shadow Glen open space. That's because you guys couldn't proofread it. That's a City of Manor park, just like the one behind these guys is a City of Manor dedicated park. So how about Manor spends some of its money? We have hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can't even put in a free ping pong table. I had a free disc golf course ready to put in. How about we put a disc golf course there maybe? So anyway, please pay attention to these people and hear them loud and clear. Because if they need help filing lawsuits, I'm ready to help them. Because you guys need to learn some lessons. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Item number 3. Is it Rodman? All right, there we go.
Thank you.
And you have 2 minutes, sir.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Dr. Harvey, members of the council. My name is Dr. Martin Rodman. I live in the Caroline neighborhood. I'm here tonight to ask you to deny the Four-Stars request to amend Caroline POD. When we bought our home, in the 1,500 square foot minimum was a key reason why we chose Caroline. And it set clear expectations about the character and long-term stability of the neighborhood. Families made serious financial decisions based on that standard. And changing it now feels like we're changing the rules after the game has already started. So last week, the Planning and Zoning Commission recognized this concern and denied that request unanimously. Caroline already includes a zoning that allows for smaller homes. There are 169 medium density lots in Section 4 with no minimum home size requirements. These lots provide flexibility without changing the standards for the primary single family areas after the fact. So this proposal, however, goes much further. It would allow up to 576 additional homes to be built at up to 1/3 smaller than the originally approved PUD. This does not solve a community problem. It just benefits the developer by increasing their profit through smaller, cheaper homes, while shifting long-term risk onto homeowners, our city, and our school district. And that risk matters because a large concentration of smaller homes puts downward pressure on the surrounding property values over time. Lower values do not just affect homeowners, they reduce the property tax revenue, which the city relies on for services, and which our school district relies on to support students, teachers, and classrooms. This council has shown that education and long-term planning matters, and decisions like this shape the tax base for years. And once standards are lowered, the effects are hard to reverse. Homeowners cannot change the terms under which we bought our own homes, but the city can uphold the standards it originally approved. So doing so protects the neighborhood, supports stable property values, safeguards the long-term interest in our city and our schools. For these reasons, and in line with the Planning and Zoning Commission decision, I respectfully ask that you too deny this PUD's request. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you for your service.
Ms. Darlene Tryon?
My name is Master Sergeant Darlene Tryon, retired U.S. Air Force.
I'm sorry.
I'd like everybody to hear me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said you didn't want to speak, or do you want to speak?
I'll speak on behalf of my neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Awesome. You ready?
The property area that's being built on is an area that I'm very proud to be a part of, a member of the neighborhood. Building on these homes and the smaller development of the homes decreases our value of our homes that I myself originally did not think was going to be built on. I was told when I purchased my home, a premium lot, that there would not be homes built in the neighborhood behind me. Now I'm finding out that there will be. This is going to depreciate my value of my home along with the value of the homes in my neighborhood. This is a blow on myself and our whole community. I believe that property can be put to better use, maybe build a park in those areas to maintain the value of our homes and also to provide for our children and our community. Thank you for your approval, if it may be. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, Miss Donna.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I too live in the Carillon neighborhood. My husband and I paid a premium to live in that neighborhood, as so many of our neighbors have. And in our view, this amounts to something akin to a bait and switch, where we purchase property with the expectation that the homes in the neighborhood will look the way they looked when we purchased. And lo and behold, there is an opportunity to completely change the character, the structure, the feel of the neighborhood. And there's a question of fairness that needs to be addressed. I would encourage the council to firmly reject this proposed amendment because of the adverse impacts that are likely on our neighborhood. I think it's in everybody's interest for the council to send a strong message that you are working on principle and prioritizing, or rather being unwilling to prioritize corporate interests over the interests of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And is it Lassette?
Hi, yeah, my name is Lassat Fernando. I too live in Carillon Phase 3. I would like to also urge you to deny this request to amend the zoning for all the reasons that other community members have also mentioned. But on top of that, smaller homes are easier to rent out in vacation homes and Airbnbs and things, and a larger percentage of those will also affect the neighborhood characteristics and the values of our properties, which does affect most of our community, because when people purchased our homes here, for most of us, it's a significant investment of their net worth. So they have a interest in protecting it. The developer, on the other hand, cited changing market conditions as the reason for this shift. Developer, on the other hand, has a lot more resources than individual community members. They can absorb that impact because markets change all the time. They'll recover. They are trying to unnecessarily push a burden onto community members to maximize short-term profit, and we urge this council to reject that amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Come on up.
Mayor, Council, as mentioned by the community members as well as in the summary form, this PUD amendment is to allow for a smaller dwelling unit size or living space within the subdivision from 1,500 square feet down to 1,000. There's also the addition of trails in the subdivision being upgraded from crushed granite to concrete.
Questions, council members?
I think my question would be if their intention was to have this done, why was it not in the original plan?
So the history, as I understand it, is that this was intended to be a higher end neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, just remind everybody about decorum. This is a business meeting. It's just presenter and council.
A higher end neighborhood with quality homes, quality amenities, things of that nature is the original intent of the PUD.
Other questions, council members?
Are they trying to assume that the smaller homes will be more considered affordable homes?
The conversations we've had with the developer, and they do have a representative here tonight for additional questions, is that the range of home sizes gives more flexibility to the home builder to allow them to deliver different home types to meet different markets that they're aiming for. And the extent is to have that flexibility so that they can meet the demand of their customers.
Councilwoman Wallace, I think some of the emphasis that was just shared and is also in I think expressed during planning and zoning appears to be there is concern about the neighborhood was supposed to be in regards to the size, house size, and pricing, and then you have the a concern that the density that the developer is going for is going to change the dynamic of the neighborhood. And so you have larger square foot homes, larger lots, and then you're going to have maybe that the land will be chopped into a space for more density to happen in that area than what normally would be, which then would mean possibly the price of the home would be lower. And
if I may,
think
and the
that's
developer can certainly correct me if I'm mistaken, but the
no,
lots.
we'll call them up. I'm just giving a summary of what the notes, what we have in writing, in regards to notes. And so, so there's so what's been said is bait and switch. The potential of the smaller homes being used for rental, Airbnb, and those things, impacting network, and worry about the developer trying to gain more income through a smaller footprint.
If I'm correct, this change in this plan will almost double the homes that were originally cited for this property.
No, so the lots sizes aren't going to be impacted. It's the size of the home they're looking for that is to be reduced. So it'll just be smaller homes on the existing lots, specifically phases 4, 5, 7, and 8, which have lots remaining to be constructed.
I thought I read something that said that they were adding 500 and something homes.
Sarah? Thank you. We're going to ask that we still stay quiet in the audience.
I
Sarah?
think what you may be referring to is the actual ability to have smaller homes. There's currently a section within the subdivision that does allow for lower home sizes. This expands the ability to other phases. So it's not that the number of lots is increasing, it's the ability to have smaller homes on the lots that's occurring.
Ms. Starkey is here. She can answer some more of your questions, Councilwoman Wallace.
Hi, Sarah Starkey with Kimley Horn. I'm the engineer on the project, and then a representative from 4-Star with the developers here as well if you do have other questions.
Okay. You want to introduce yourself too?
Will Genrich with 4-Star.
Thank you. Okay. Councilman Wallace.
Exactly where are you talking about trying to put these smaller homes on the, like which phase?
So if you don't mind, I can point at the screen. So on the bottom, the kind of southwest corner is called phase 5, and it's really hard to see in the audience. I apologize. It says phase 5 on it. And then just north of that, it says just a PUD SF label right there. Kind of, there's a blue square. It's anything surrounding that has not already had a home put on it. And then with the last rezoning amendment that was completed, we added phases 7 and 8. Again, it does not change the size of the lots that are proposed. So we're still talking minimum 50-foot wide lots. It's just the house pad size, the minimum dwelling unit, like the air conditioned area, that would be the change on this.
For the audience sake, do you mind, can someone do a pointer?
Do y'all mind if I? Okay. So, yeah, if you go to the south of that, right there, are you able to see that part? So that's the last phase of the original development that is still being built out. And then with the last amendment was the 2 Nagel Estates tracks that were added in that are called phases 7 and 8. So kind of right smack dab in the middle, there's a big green line. It says phase 7 on it. Yeah, you're right over it. Yeah. So that big square, you see how there's a square outlining? Yeah, that's phase 7. And then go to the north, just one more north. There's a square outline. Yeah, that's phase 8. Hopefully that helps clarify.
And all of this is right outside of the, like to the bottom by phase 5. Is that where that's where Carillon is?
So this is the this is the zoning portion of it. It gets a little confusing because there is phase 1 of Carillon that is not part of this. So that's what you'll see. That's kind of black and white under. There's a blue dashed line that kind of is the floodplain on the left of the screen. All the way on the left. It's not really. It has lots on it. So that was the original phase, and then that one's what's connected by a trail to phase 5. Did that answer your question?
So on that original phase, are the houses the normal size?
Yeah. So it would just be on phases 4, 5, 7, and 8 that have not had any building permits issued on them. And so that's that 576 lot number that somebody quoted earlier. I believe it was Dr. Martin quoted the lot number. That's how many would be remaining that could fall into this category. So it wasn't an increase in number of lots. It was just that would be the number that would potentially apply.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments, council members? Other comments, council members?
I have a question for the developer. I guess with the number of comments that you've heard from the neighborhood, were you all able to hear about this before or had an opportunity to address it with them? Like maybe if they had an HOA meeting
No,
or something like that?
we haven't had a meeting. We
to?
worked with city staff on this.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Since there is so much opposition to this, is there any way for you to get with the community members and maybe meet in the middle on something?
I mean, yeah, we could meet with them. Our intention is just to give our builders, we're lot developers, our intention is to give our builders the flexibility in their building program to meet the market. Housing affordability is a real thing. So we're just looking to give the builders the flexibility in return for increased masonry standards, which we, worked on that exhibit and chart with city staff. So that's the whole intention of the the amendment.
But you are willing to meet with the people to discuss something?
Sure.
To come up with less of contention with this?
Yeah, I don't know that we want to try to have that conversation in the public hearing.
Yeah, I
think-
mean, I can't say. I would say
Yeah,
we would probably.
Hold on, sir. I think what we want to do is hear what's being said, because it's just a public hearing, and we're not at a space right now where the decision is about to be made. We do want to hear what's all been said in regards to that, and then hear what our staff members are recommending and why they're recommending it before we go into directing anything out from there.
To that point, if we want to provide the developer the opportunity to meet with their residents, would we like to leave the public hearing open and then have it come back at the first meeting in January to hear the results?
What I would like to know is the staff recommendation and why the staff is making the recommendation.
Yes, sir. When we worked with the developers, there's a precedent set for this with Monarch Ranch, and they essentially came and asked what can be done. So our immediate thought was to refer to what had been done previously and what was a comfortable decision with another subdivision within the city, which is where the 20% of each of those housing types came from.
Was Monarch Ranch also considered high end?
Their homes range within the 300,000, so mid to higher end, but their request came from, I believe, 1,600 down to 1,300 as opposed to 15 down to 1,000. Initially, the request from the developer was 30% of each of the housing types. We came to the agreement that that was a little much, especially considering that essentially removed the ability, or not removed, but it gave the opportunity to completely remove 1,500 square foot or higher dwelling units. So after conversation, this is what was most comfortable to be presented to the council.
All right, other questions, council members? Being none, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing on item number 3.
Motion on the floor by Councilwoman Mesquire. Any questions to to close the public hearing? Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. City Council will now convene into executive session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code. We'll be right back and we'll continue on with the next item on the list.
case. Let me see. We've determined that the total cost for this district to get it up and running in order for the developer to have completed lots that they can move to home builders, it comes to roughly about $8 million, of which we are levying $2.3 million. So that is assessments that go onto the land, which is paid by the owners. At the current point, the developer owns about 66% of the land, and then 34% of that is already owned by end users. So each of them will pay their assessment over the 30 years, or they can pay that a prepayment at any time. All of the lots are the same size within the district. The total assessment amount is about $17,000 per unit, which is about $1,700 annual installment.
Thank you, sir. And you said it was how much?
The levy is $2.3 million, $2,366,000 to be exact.
And that first breakdown is going to go to which projects? Do you know yet?
So the district is going to go to that first improvement area, and it goes to the streets, the drainage, the water, and the wastewater. So that's going to be your concrete, your roadway, the streets to drive within the district, the water lines so that there's water within the homes, and then your water and your drainage, which of course are needed so that the homes don't flood.
Okay. Questions, council members?
To the concern that was given about, I don't know if this is the right place to talk about it.
Is it about the flooding? Yeah. Go ahead.
If you're talking about using the assessments to help with drainage, if there's flooding on adjacent properties, can there be something put in place to help prevent that or lessen it?
Mayor and Council, my name is Anthony Gudice. I'm with KB Home. I can certainly talk to my development staff about the flooding. I'm not personally aware of the flooding today, but I can certainly discuss that with them.
Right. I think staff can catch you up to the resident that came a couple of meetings ago. And
she's been to several.
Yeah.
Okay.
And give you context, and then y'all can go from there.
Okay.
Other questions, comments, council members? If not, we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor and Council, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing on item number 4.
A motion on the floor by Councilman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Moreno. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda considered to be self-explanatory by council and will be enacted one motion. There will be no separate discussion on items unless requested by mayor or council member, in which event will be removed from the consent agenda considered separately. Any consent agenda items that anybody wants to pull?
Item number 7, Mayor.
Item 7?
Yes, sir.
All right. Others? Okay, can we get a motion for consent agenda for items 5 and 6?
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for items number 5 and 6 and
motion.
pull number 7.
Motion on the floor for approval of consent agenda 5 and 6. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7, consideration, discussion, and possible action on accepting the November 2025 departmental reports. Mr. Moore.
Mayor Council, I would like to go in closed session and talk about Public Works report with you.
Okay. City council will, actually, you know what? Let's get through another item, then we'll come back and go do that. Okay. So I need a motion to table the item, and we'll come back to it later on.
Mayor, council, I'd like to make a motion that we table item number 7.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Weir. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Wallace. Any questions to the motion?
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I think, did the city manager ask for the public works or the ESD 12?
It's the whole thing is available.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank
Number
you.
7. Other questions? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We're going to jump to council members. Item number is it 11? Yeah. First reading, consideration, discussion, possible action on a rezoning application amendment for the Main Heights Carry On subdivision, approximately 1,655 lots on 548.5 acres, more or less, and being located at the northeast corner of U.S. Highway 290 and Old Kimber Road, Manor, Texas, from planned unit development to planned unit development. Council members, I know, do you have any questions or comments from Mr. Burrell on this item? Or if you do, please feel free to ask. I actually would like to ask council to consider a postponement on this item so that more conversation, discussion can take place. But if you do want to, that's my recommendation. But if you do have some questions or conversation you'd like to do, please proceed. So we'll take questions, comments, or a motion.
Can we postpone and then just ask staff to, or we have to ask it now? Okay. My question is, can there be a conversation between the developer and the residents that are in disagreement with this situation to see if they can come to some kind of happy medium?
There's nothing stating that they can't. The developer currently acts as the homeowners association while the subdivision is still under construction, is not completed yet. So to that extent, it would be up to those present and the developer to find a time to meet and discuss, to come back with any potential middle ground they may have reached. Though I do have a question, even if they were to meet, how would they share those findings here if the public hearing is closed and they can't?
You will need to be connecting with them.
Okay. Well, we can certainly make the time to meet with both parties.
Another, I think that's what Councilwoman Wallace is getting at. She's wanting to direct you to ensure that they have an attempt to have some conversations and see what can come from that. Not necessarily to force one thing or another, but to ensure that they have an opportunity to connect.
Yes, sir.
That sound right?
Yes. We can
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallace.
And so then we need a motion from you in regards to when we will come back to this. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, council members, I think also for city staff understanding, if you are asking for a postponement, either for the first week in January, that means that the developer and homeowners would need to meet prior to the end of the year, like on the 29th, since that's the time that we submit backup for the January 7th meeting. So you may want to ask a developer if that's sufficient time. If not, you may want to postpone until the 21st. That's your next city council meeting, so that again, we have time to prepare backup and to prepare the ordinance. That's the main thing. It's just the ordinance, if we need to make any revisions to it based on whatever the developer and the homeowners provide city staff with any kind of agreement.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Where'd it go? Oh, there you go. Are y'all able to, do meet sooner, or do you need to up until the January 21st date?
I mean, I can speak, but we'll make the attempt to.
Okay.
Would it also be beneficial to consult with the residents if they're able to, with holiday and travels coming up very shortly?
I think we should just wait till the 21st.
I don't think that's what we're asking. I think what we're getting from our legal is that when we can do that so that we can move on with our business meeting. And so, when can you be able to? So I think we set it for the 21st, and then that's the time, ample time that we provide. So we get a motion for that.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone item number 11 until our January 21st, 2026 meeting.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquite. Any questions to the motion? None. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Okay. Motion passes 6-1. We're going to jump to now the executive session. City Council will not convene to executive session provision pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 541 Texas Government Code. All right. Time is 9:15 p.m. City Council will now reconvene into open session pursuant to the provisions of Texas Government Code Chapter 551. We have a motion for number 7.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the November 2025 department reports and the Public Works report with actions provided in executive session.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Reynolds. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Regular agenda 8, consideration, discussion, possible action on regular regarding an ordinance amending ordinance number 721 and Chapter 8 offenses and nuances. Section 8.03 sex offender residency, changing designated city staff, amending variance processes. Yes, sir, Chief.
Mayor, Council, Ryan Phipps, Chief of Police. We are bringing before you a requested amendment for the ordinance that allows sex offenders to appeal decisions to move in the city to you guys. We're kind of doing this to clean up the process. As it currently sits, it goes between the city secretary's office and the police department. And so what we're trying to do with this amendment is eliminate the city secretary from that process, other than just preparing it for the agenda to come to you guys. Unfortunately, we have submitted this as with red lines on the ordinance, and so I would ask that we have two options according to city legal, that we can either adopt it as it is shown in the red lines, or we can bring it back to y'all when it's finished, cleaned up, and y'all can approve it then. Did I get that right? Clarification.
Mayor, council members, Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney. You can either adopt the red line as is, and what we would do, and you would just direct city legal to provide a clean copy for the mayor's execution. So if you're okay with the redlining and you don't have any changes, you can take action tonight. Or if you want to see the clean copy because the redlining, you may have some questions, then just provide city staff direction and we'll bring back a clean copy for you to take action.
My question is, how much does the city secretary pay you to get this done?
She better be a lot. No, it just will clean up the process for all of us to get it to you guys.
Where will the processing information be updated and visible for individuals needing this policy?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Where will it be updated and posted? So that people know how
just
to do it.
in the available ordinances on the city website. So if y'all agree to the language that is going to be changed when we find out that they're attempting to move into the city, or the sex offender compliance personnel at the PD is made aware from wherever they're moving from, or if they're getting out of jail and trying to move to the city, we provide them with a copy of the ordinance. As well as the map that exists that shows where the buffer lines are currently sitting. I'm sorry? I'm on Municode.
Not only will they have an ordinance that they can provide, it will also be codified in your code of ordinances as well, because it's already been codified under Chapter 8. Okay. So that's why we need to bring back an ordinance saying that we're amending Chapter 8.
Yeah, I'm definitely aware of that. I'm actually more so, will there be a link somewhere on a website so they can quickly get to that information?
We can provide that. I don't think that's what we would normally do with an amendment to the ordinance. We would just put it into Municode and have it's searchable through that process. But if that's y'all's wish, then we can. We have a sex offender tab of the police department. We could include there that this has been updated and the process is now changed.
Well, and that's really what I'm asking for. If there's a tab, and if the tab then would lead to that, so you can get the information.
The tab does not currently lead to the ordinance. The tab gives you a brief synopsis that certain people aren't allowed to live inside the city limits, but when they're moving here, they're either moving from another community whose sex offender compliance officer is then mandated to notify us that they're trying to move here. Mm-hmm. If they're getting out of prison, then we usually hear from a probation or parole officer that says, hey, y'all need to prepare to intake a new sex offender that's being released. And then at that time, we provide them information of what our ordinance are.
Okay. If it's easier, or if it won't take much, on that tab, just to connect to it,
it makes sense.
Just so it's just an extra step of allowing for someone in case someone out there does not do their job
right
in communicating, and someone is having to navigate it on their own, like they're not supposed to.
Yeah,
at least then when they go to the website.
For sure. We do already, I think there is a link to the map, which we update whenever new development comes in. I work with development services to ensure that if we add a new park to the city or a new place where children commonly gather as it's defined in the ordinance, then we try to update that map pretty regularly. So that's linked on there. So absolutely, we should just add another link to the ordinance itself.
Okay. Other questions, comments about the ordinance or the red line information?
I had a question about the number 5 that asked if the information that they should provide, any other information requested by the city. Is that only for if D is necessary when they're requesting a variance?
No, it's a different section. So section 5, are you talking about the savings clause?
I'm sorry, no.
Section 3.
Section 3.
B.
Section 3B.
B5. Under the
Yeah. Any other information requested by page 2 of the ordinance?
Sure. And that's just because sometimes these cases are complex and we need to dive into it a little more in preparation to questions y'all may have. So in a recent case, we had to dive a little further into what actually took place to have this individual meet the standards that she was having to meet. And so rather than tying up somebody within our office, we can mandate that they provide us with the documentation that we're looking for.
Other questions? Questions, comments, or a motion?
Okay. Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 811, amending ordinance number 721, and chapter 8 offenses and nuances, section 8.03 sex offender residency, changing designated city staff and amending variance processes, with city legal providing us with a clean copy at a later date.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesco. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank
you, sir. First reading, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding the ordinance rezoning.
Sorry, Mayor.
Gotta
Also
go.
recusing myself from that
All
one.
right.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. First reading, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding the ordinance rezoning one lot on 2.786 acres more or less, and being TCAD parcel 236902, also known as 12725 US Highway 290, Marion, Texas, from A agricultural to IN1 light industrial. Yes, sir.
Mayor Council, this is the rezoning request for the property behind ASCO pertaining to either a potential industrial light or a heavy commercial zoning designation with certain uses prohibited. Legal counsel has informed me that they looked into the use that was inquired about earlier, and it would need to be allowed in order for the tentative operation that the applicant is contemplating.
I don't remember who asked that question earlier. It's like Councilman Wallace. Does that help?
This is pertaining to the 18-wheelers dropping equipment off. He had actually asked if that could remain
No, I
as an
think she had something on that one too.
No, I asked that one if the 18-wheelers would be there just to drop off or pick up, and the question about the fire trucks and the 18-wheelers having to go on the same road.
So I can provide a bit more context on top of what Mr. Moore did pertaining to, I guess, fire access, fire safety, and just the trucks going through there. Before the property is developable, as mentioned before, it has to have access on a public right-of-way, and with that, there are design standards and with requirements that allow it to function. So if that isn't met, the deal doesn't really work.
And then in regards to the petitioner's request, in regards to transportation terminal, council members legal is saying that if transportation terminal is a prohibited or is removed from the allowable uses, then this the planned use will not be allowable. Yeah, so if you look on the summary document, it says to maintain that idea, the following uses are recommended to be removed from the allowable uses. And so transportation terminal is going to be removed from the allowable uses in the current program state. However, for what the applicant is saying they would like to be able to do, this that language can't be removed, or they can't do one of the uses that they brought to the table.
Didn't I ask, did they have any problems with anything in that section?
Yes.
And that's what
And
they
that's the
said.
one he said. That's the one he said. And then when we were, you asked the question, and they said about the transportation terminal, and so in the interim, legal dove into that question to find out if it had an impact or not. Yes, you did ask that question. So understanding that information for I think one of you all asked what would the potential uses were given, and then in regards to the potential uses, transportation terminal has been determined that has to be in the allowable uses for the stated use to be permitted.
Okay, so is that only if we do C3?
Correct.
So if we do what they're asking for, then
If you do
that's
what's
not a
asked,
problem.
the majority of those uses aren't allowed anyways. There would just be less strict requirements in terms of buffer yard, landscaping, and screening, things of that nature.
Okay.
Lower development requirements, essentially.
And so what was staff's recommendation overall? Because I see 2 staff recommendations in the item.
So staff recommendation was C3 with certain uses removed. The original requester's inquiry was light industrial. There was conversation going back and forth as to whether or not this item would move forward. That's why the summary form just wasn't updated in time. But we were notified closer to the meeting date that they would be proceeding, and that's why there's the discrepancy.
So again, light industrial
Light industrial is more in
allows
line
for
with-
the trucks.
Yes.
Okay.
The C3 recommendation can also, if that list of uses that are prohibited is altered, to include it, or I guess remove it from the prohibited uses.
Okay.
Michael, so what are the other existing equipment places? Are they already light industrial?
Mhm.
And that's why they
Well-
at their street level?
I believe ASCO may be zoned ag. It's them or Anderson, but they had their use before the zoning was put in place. So if the use ever were to change, they would have to update their zoning then, but the use already existed prior.
Y'all also mentioned something about the future land use map and either it's relevant or not relevant. Can you explain?
So the future land use map has this area indicated as neighborhood mixed use. Right now, it has the industrial zoning, or not industrial zoning, industrial use that has not been rezoned because it's existed there for longer than the future land use map has been in place. There's New Katy, which is immediately to the east, and then based off the study that was done and the map that was created, that area would shift more into a mixed use neighborhood, somewhere where, you know, people can work, have minor services, small places to shop, things of that nature, per the future land use map. So with C3, that was an attempt to kind of meet in the middle to allow for the uses currently requested, but down the line, as you know, the city changes, grows, reshapes itself, there's already a zoning in place that allows for that more retail, citizen-oriented use on the site.
So light industrial falls in line with this mixed use, or
Light industrial is allowed under C3 because it's one of our, well, it is our most permissive zoning category. That allows them in the immediate term to do what they're trying to do, just with higher development standards. The retail is also allowed under C3, which is more so in line with the future land use map than straight industrial zoning.
So that puts it basically to be safe if they just choose to sell the property.
Yes, if the ownership ever changes or the use is ever needing to be essentially changed, C3 zoning would be easier for whoever the owner is, as opposed to having to come back and get it zoned again for a different use.
And the only thing they have a problem with is the transportation use.
That is all that's been currently mentioned, unless there's anything else.
so? Sorry, I didn't start with so. Also, I guess with our land use map as it is, prior to this, it also came with like instructions or direction of where our water and wastewater lines would be. Is it in the capacity that it holds in that area? Would light industrial require more out of it, or C3 require more out of it?
Light industrial typically doesn't have much water usage, especially if it's just equipment sales and rental. It depends on how large the building is, how many employees they have on site, restrooms, things of that nature, but it's not going to be as much of a use as if you had like a retail shop. You're going to have more people, you're going to have more things that use water.
Other questions? Can you speak in regards to, back to the question that was asked a moment ago in regards to the future land use map and the intent of mixed use density, and I guess our efforts or intent to either maintain that or not maintain that?
In regards to the zoning requested, or just in general for the area?
In general, for the future land use map area that covers that area. And I mean, we have projects that are parallel or adjacent to that space that is currently under conversations about mixed use density. So I would like to kind of understand.
So neighborhood mixed use would be at some point, if and when we're able to annex New Katy, you provide minor services such as, for example, the cell phone repair shop or the shops that are below the building that Mr. Eric Davis is building. That would be like your neighborhood mixed uses, things that the community can easily access that aren't a heavy burden on those that live there due to heavy vehicle traffic or things of that nature. Something that people can utilize, walk to, but it also feels as though it fits within the community because it's provided by the community.
I don't think that is, maybe I asked my question wrong. That area, the frontage is commercial. Behind the commercial, the intent was mixed use density. And so I guess what I'm asking is, what are our conversations in regards to the landowners and developers and people in that area in regards to our vision for that space? Are we having those conversations, or what's been talked about, or what was offered and communicated in that time period?
Whenever we have any zoning case, we'll bring up the future land use map just so that we can make them aware of what the intent for the space is. And that's ultimately how we came to the decision for C3, because it was the closest thing we could get while still being at a middle ground with what they're requesting. But to answer your question directly, yes, we do bring up the future land use map, what the intent for the space is, and our intent to meet it. From there, it's up to the discretion of the applicant and the council to decide how we get there.
Other questions, comments, council members?
My comment, because you kind of set me back with the future land use map, and I guess the fact that it's irrelevant to this piece right here. I guess I kind of don't feel as comfortable making a decision on it yet without maybe understanding more about our current future land use map and then how it's evolved and how it impacts some of the other things that I may have already thought was, as the mayor was saying, was like projects that are running parallel or things that were coming in at the same time. So maybe I can have more conversation about that between, I guess, you and Mr. Jones for economic purposes too.
Are you talking in regards to an update or an amendment to the future land use map?
I guess so, because I guess with conversations with this developer, it was updated, or there will be updates to it that I wasn't really too aware of how the differences would be and how substantial that would be too.
I'm trying to think how I can address this. It's not necessarily that the future land use map is being updated when a zoning comes through. The future land use map is a guide for how we should try to zone our community, and the goal is to adhere to it. There are instances where that doesn't occur immediately, and to that point, if for whatever reason it's determined that the future land use map is not an accurate representation of what we're trying to achieve, or for whatever reason the goals of our city change to where it needs to be altered, that's where we can receive direction as staff to make those changes. As of now, the future land use map and the comprehensive plan are supposed to be revisited every 5 years. We're not quite at that point, but it's always capable of being brought sooner, just that direction. But to be clear, the future land use map isn't changing because of the zoning that's being requested. It's just not in line with the future land use map. So to that point, it's at your discretion whether or not we can proceed with it.
All right, other questions, comments, or a motion? Other questions, comments, or a motion?
Okay, if we were to put this for C3. Oh, that's the only part we have to change then, right? The bottom.
All right. I believe you're saying the recommendation would be to approve the first reading with the staff recommendation of C3 heavy commercial with the list of certain uses removed except for transportation terminal.
Okay.
Would that be?
Council members, in your, are you all ready to make a motion in favor or against, or would you like more information? Because, okay, I'm just trying to gauge your silence.
So can we postpone this item until, what, January 7th or January 21st?
7th.
January 7th. I'd like to make a motion that we postpone item number 9 until our January 7th City Council, January 7th, 2026 City Council meeting.
May I ask, before the motion is completed, what specifically we're looking for? That way we can provide useful dialogue.
I think we'll have to get some direction from council members and get that to you.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 10, consideration, discussion, possible action on a subdivision concept plan amendment for Maynard Downs Industrial, being 7 lots on 146.920 acres, more or less, being TCAD parcels 247-972, 247-974, 247-987, 247-986, 247-984, 247-973, 477-389, 247-991, and being located at 8916 Hill Lane, Manor, Texas. Council members, do you have any questions regarding the concept plan or amendment for Maynard Downs? If not, I'll entertain questions, motions, or question, comments, or motion.
Mayor Council would like to make a motion that City Council conditionally approve a subdivision concept plan amendment for Maynard Downs Industrial with the condition that the DA be amended before the concept plan amendment is completed.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Masco. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 12, consideration, discussion, and possible action on an ordinance of the City of Maynard, Texas, making a finding of special benefit to the property in the Maynard, Mustang Valley Public Improvement District, providing for a method of assessment and special assessments against property in the district, approving an assessment rule for improvement area number 1 of the district, levying special assessments against property within improvement area number 1 of the district, providing for payment of special assessments, providing for penalties and interest on delinquent assessments, establishing a lien on property within the district, approving a service and assessment plan, providing for related matters in accordance with Chapter 372 Texas Local Government Code, providing an effective date and providing for severability. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, council members, Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney. This item, if you recall, was after you had the first public or a resolution approval, during the resolution approval to hold a public hearing and to then move forward with levying assessments, the developer provided you a timeline and a presentation of the items that they had done thus far. The developer again is here to provide any additional information that you may request or answer any questions. We also have your PID advisor and administrator here to answer any questions, especially regarding the SAP that they have, the preliminary SAP that they have drafted, and to provide additional information regarding the fact that we're requesting that this be approved before the end of the year instead of next year because of assessments and Rob, please remind me. And homestead exemptions before those happen. So again, everyone is here to answer any additional questions that you may have or provide additional information.
Council members, do you have additional questions?
Yes, can we go over the preliminary SAP just one more time? Just an overview.
That would be Rob.
Do you have any specific questions that I can answer? Okay. So the SAP is one of the governing documents for the district. It outlines what the district is, what it's paying for, the levy amount. It provides an assessment role where any end user within the district can look up their property and they can see their assessment and their annual installment. If you'd like, I can go over the numbers again, or the authorized improvements that the district is paying for.
Is that what you like?
No.
Okay.
Unless you guys.
Anyone that need that? Okay. Does that suffice for your question? Okay. All right.
I have a question while you're up. With the public improvement, the money or the assessments that you would put back in for the improvements, if you don't need, or if you find out that the cost you went under budget, what happens to like the remaining part? Is there a remaining? Or do you
Yeah, so we do prove up all of the costs of the developer before any funds are released to them. Generally in that instance, it's called an underrun overrun, whereas if there are costs that did not quite meet the threshold of what they anticipated, they can take those remaining funds and they can put it toward a cost that maybe costs more than they anticipated.
And so you were saying the first round would be streets and something else, or sidewalks or something. So those improvements, that would be the first one.
Yes, ma'am. So the improvements for this first portion of the district for this improvement area 1 are pretty standard within PIDs. It's roadway, it's streets, it's drainage, it's the water lines. It's really everything that would make sure that these homes are livable. And then the developer, if you have more questions about the improvements, can answer those with more accuracy, I'm sure.
Like they could answer how overrun, underrun, if that's even possible, or you're saying that they've already done and I can't think of the word, but they've already looked at it, put their numbers together and said this is how much it would possibly cost.
Well, in this specific case, ma'am, I would say that there's no issue of the costs because this levy is only paying for a portion of the improvements. It's been estimated that putting in the improvements for this improvement area 1 will cost roughly $8 million, and then the developer is only being reimbursed $2.4 million, so they will have plenty of costs.
And the landowner agreement will be for each, the levy will be on each property?
That's right. Each property within this improvement area one will be assessed tonight if approved.
Other questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 810 regarding the levying of assessments in the Mustang Valley Public Improvement District, approve the 2025 service and assessment plan, and approve the landowner agreement.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 13, second and final reading, consideration, discussion, and possible action on ordinance designating a geographic area within the city of Maynard, Texas, and the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction as a tax increment reinvestment zone pursuant to Chapter 311 of Texas Tax Code, known as Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 3, Terrace 3. City of Maynard, Texas, approving the preliminary finance plan describing the boundaries of the zone, creating a board of directors for the zone, appointing members of the board, and establishing a tax increment reinvestment zone for the zone, fund for the zone. Council members, do you have any questions regarding this item?
How did you guys go about identifying the boundaries?
Basically, we took most of the properties that were in the ETJ that were to the east of the Manor Town Square property. Actually, we were looking at those properties at Manor Commercial Park East, and then and that was before we did the downtown plan and the downtown TERS number 2. But then we included the Manor Town Center property in the TERS when it looked like we were going to need to do a TERS for Manor Town Center also. So we included that in the boundary also.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We looked at the most developable commercial tracts that were going to be, and those were spread out along Old Kimbrough Road, down US 290, and then all that future land use map employment center area down what's Liddy Road, and encompassed all of that area. So might as well make it a broad path right now because we don't know all the development that's going to go on, but we want to take advantage of that tax increment.
Other questions? If none, entertain a motion.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the second and final reading of ordinance number 812, designating a geographic area within the city of Maynard, Texas, and the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction as a tax increment reinvestment zone pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, known as Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 2, TERS Number 3. City of Maynard approving the preliminary and financing plan, distributing the boundaries of the zone, creating a board of directors for the zone, and appointing members of the board and establishing a tax increment reinvestment zone fund for the zone.
Motion on the floor by Councilwoman Weir. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Moreno. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Council.
Number 14, consideration, discussion, possible action on a term sheet with Lanzola Development regarding a potential amendment to their development agreement. Yes, sir.
Mayor Council, what you have before you is a term sheet that is essentially a preliminary look at the DA amendment to come between the city and Lanzola Development. It outlines the assistance they're anticipating with the extension of water service to the property and what the city receives in exchange, as well as other mutual benefits.
This is a part of a development agreement amendment that's coming? No.
This is essential.
These are the terms that are being proposed so that they can be incorporated into a development agreement amendment, because there is already a development agreement in place.
Yeah, that's what, okay. So this is the part. So it's not going to be any additional things that's going to come later on with the amendment?
There should not be. This is something that the developer and city staff have been working together on. Mr. Moore can probably provide some additional information, or Michael, or the rest of the staff.
Okay, no, I'm just wondering if this was part one or part two or something else coming on that.
Got it.
Thank you. Questions, comments, council members? You want to keep speaking to, or just talk about the water capacity part, number 3, and those LUEs?
Yes, so they're anticipating around 500 to 600 LUEs worth of capacity for their subdivision. That would include the actual homes that are in there, as well as the potential school or community site that are within the boundaries of the project. And the extension of this water line is with that in mind. So the city would be assisting with the acquisition of easements, granting the right to construct the line in there to ultimately provide service to the site.
Okay. And this doesn't alter any of our current water, wastewater plan pieces, does it?
The subdivision was already contemplated for their LUEs. There's slight variation just because of the addition of a school, which wasn't initially contemplated with the development, but
it's still within the original scope. All right. Other questions, comments?
This might be for Mr. Moore. When we say that we're going to support them in negotiating for the transfer agreements, what kind of support does that involve from us?
The support being requested would be working with Aqua, since Aqua is their territory, and they would have the right to serve. And since they don't have the right to serve, we would recommend they go to the Public Utility Commission to go through an expedient process to get released once they're ready to move forward. So that way, with Aqua not being able to provide service, going through the PUC, if they hire a water attorney, will allow them to go ahead and expedite that process, allow Aqua to release their obligation to provide water in that area. And basically just the working relationship with PUC and Aqua, because there's some other areas throughout north of 290 that we'd have to ultimately work with Aqua, Manville. So we just a good relationship with, if they can provide, we'll let them provide, but if they can't, then we'll work with them to make sure that's get released to the city.
Okay, thank you.
There is no other questions. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mayor, Council would like to make a motion that the city approve a term sheet with Lanzola Development regarding a potential amendment to their development agreement.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Mesquin. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. 15, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding a request to levy assessments for Manor Heights Public Improvement District, PID Improvement Area number 5.
Mayor, council members, Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney. We have had preliminary discussions with the developers team and city staff, and we would like for city council to provide direction on the developer's request to levy assessments only on Manor Heights PID area number 5, and we do have the developer and developers team here to provide a presentation to y'all with regard to their request to levy assessments.
Hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Vanessa Stowe, and I am the PID consultant for the developer of the Manor Heights Public Improvement District. as Veronica said, our request today is to come forward and discuss only levying assessments on improvement area 5 of the Manor Heights PID. Historically, when we have come forward, we have moved forward with a levy of assessments on the previous improvement areas and then subsequently come for a bond issuance. In this scenario, we would like to do assessment levy only and not issue PID bonds. There should be a one-pager that I believe we passed out for you guys where you can compare the numbers between what it looks like for a bond issuance versus what it looks like for an assessment levy on here. We believe that it's just fiscally inefficient to move forward with bonds because the costs outweigh the benefits here. Historically, here, industry standards typically, now things change, but typically about $3 million is the minimum threshold for a PID bond. That does not mean that you cannot issue bonds for less than $3 million. That just means that on a case-by-case basis, you need to take a look at the cost of issuance. And when you go below $3 million, typically cost of issuance skyrocket up, and it makes it cost restricted to issue the PID bonds. The second one would be the bond issuance cost. On an average basis, I tell my clients when you go to issue PID bonds, your gross amount versus the net amount the developer takes back and reimburses themselves for public improvements that are put into the ground averages between 15 to 20%. Now, for a large PID bond, that's a bit more palatable. When you've got a very lower amount, that percentage skyrockets up comparatively. The average cost of issuance on the other PID bond issuances for Manor Heights, if you can see on the page at the bottom there, is about 19.75%, 20% there. That fits within the industry standard range on those. So typical what we would expect. If you look at the column over, that would be improvement area number 5. If we moved forward with PID bonds on this, that cost of issuance effectively skyrockets up to 63%. So it's a 43% increase almost there. You can also see, if you go up to the columns above, you can see up there, the bond issuance is not only below 3 million, it is below 1 million. So it just makes it very, very low and cost effective. So when you run the numbers on it, you're basically spending $1 to gain 60 cents. It's not a very good deal. So due to that, our thought process is to move forward with an assessment levy only, not do the bonds, because with assessment levy, we don't have all of those extra costs. It's just a 30-year revenue stream that the developer collects over a 30-year time, principal and then interest there. It does still include the administrative expenses to cover all city fees and the PID administrator as well. And so, yeah, that would be our request, is just to move forward with assessment levy. In addition to that, because we would move forward with assessment levy, that does include putting the levy still on the homeowners out there. And because this is the last improvement area, we would like to move forward with that because we want to treat all of the owners and the residents within the Manor Heights PID the same, with the same tax rate equivalent, and keep that uniform across the board. That way no one's paying more or less just because it was a smaller amount. So just keeping everybody equal and uniform there. And yeah, that was our just discussion for you guys on why we were requesting just the assessment levy at this time and not going forward with the bond issuance. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Questions, comments?
I'd like to hear from our expert. If you could step forward. In your opinion, how will this affect us, the community, doing this way? Do you see any positives, or give us your opinion on this proposal?
When you say the community, are you referring to the future residents of this IA5? I would say in my experience that if you do have a portion of a PID district that is assessed much lower, or in this case, not assessed, that can cause issues with neighbors. You've got this one portion of this district that doesn't have a PID assessment, and they may come to the city and ask, why does this other portion of our community have the assessment and we don't? So I have seen that.
I feel like you have something else. Just spit it out. I want to know.
Well, I would note that one of the things that makes bond issuance attractive to cities is that when you issue bonds, you then have access to the project fund, and the developer is able to be reimbursed pretty much immediately, generally within 2 years. Under a levy-only structure, the city would be reimbursing the developer over the full 30-year term of this IA5. So this would create a bit of an additional burden on the city's admin to move forward in this manner.
I knew you had something. Thank you.
PID committee, did y'all already meet on this one? Yes, we did. Yeah. Okay.
And Mayor and council members, just we would like direction from City Council. It's not necessarily an action item that you have to approve, but we would like direction. And we do have this item for discussion in executive session as well. So if you have any questions for legal counsel, and the only other information that I wanted to share with you is that we would, depending on either bond issuance or levying just levying of assessments only, or going out for bonds, but again, the request is just to levy assessments. We will be coming back to you though with a development agreement amendment, because there are changes to the development agreement, and we also need to have a reimbursement agreement in place. So that would be part of the amendment. The exhibit to the amendment would be a reimbursement agreement as well.
So we can give you direction after executive? Okay.
Any questions? Other questions? If not, then City Council will now convene to executive session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code. And we'll go ahead and start with we'll start with the city manager contract. City Council will now reconvene into open session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code. Number 16, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a development agreement for Kimbrough Crossing Development. Mr. Burrell.
Pardon me. Mayor Council, this development agreement is for, as it states, the Kimbrough Crossing Development located at the northwest corner of Old Kimbrough Road and US Highway 290. It essentially sets the development standards for two of the parcels in the overall development, as well as items pertaining to infrastructure being dedicated to the city upon construction, sidewalks being installed, land conveyance for open space / parkland, just depending on what application of it is deemed necessary, and things of that nature.
Council members, do you have any questions for Mr. Burrell or for Mr. Patrick, who's here? Did you want to have any specific comments, sir?
Pardon me, I have been advised to state for the record the variance to the code, which would be the roughly half-foot difference in our vertical articulation standards versus the design proposed for their building to be included in the development agreement.
Thank you.
Exhibit C specifically.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys take service to your community to a whole new level. I've been doing this a long time, 38 years, I guess, and this is the latest ever. But anyway, I'm a developer, retail developer. I've stuck with retail development for all these years, and I developed for Academy and Hobby Lobby. They're my primary clients. I just recently built the Pflugerville Hobby Lobby. We weren't able to get an Academy done there, but anyway, we appreciate the city's help, Mr. Moore, Mr. Jones, city staff, Michael, and everything they've done to help us to get to this point. And we really need to get past this so that we can move on to signing leases with these two tenants. And the development also creates shovel-ready lots for 11 additional out parcels and 2 more anchor spaces. So if you have any questions, I'm here, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet
and
you.
This is a first for us this late as well. So,
okay.
Council members, questions? If no questions, I'll take a motion. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you have any, after Hobby Lobby and Academy, you said you deal with others, can you get them?
We do. We have a couple others we've been working on, and I think really it just helps to get the whole thing started, to get a couple in there, and I can't do one without the other. They both require the other to be open for them to start paying rent, and so once we get them going, I think a lot of other users are going to show up, and we do have a couple that are interested, but they haven't committed yet. Okay. I do too. I've developed for them actually, so yeah, we'll see.
Councilwoman Weir has a request in. All right. Other questions? Other questions? If not, I'll entertain question, comments, or a motion.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that City Council approve a development agreement for the Kimbrough Road Crossing development and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement upon completion with the revisions of the variance in Exhibit C.
Got a motion on the floor by Councilmember Moreno. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? No. No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 17, consideration, discussion, possible action on a Chapter 380 agreement for a 5.57 acre tract and the future Kimbrough Crossing retail development at the northwest corner of the US Highway 290 and Old Kimbrough Road in Manor, owned by Timmerman Commercial Investments. Yes, sir.
And Mayor and Council, Scott Jones, Economic Development Director, and before you is a request for a 380 agreement by ID Capital, Manor LLC, and Pat Sauer that you just met. This is for the 5.57 acre tract on the Timmerman property at the northwest corner of Old Kimbrough and 290. And the incentives requested in this 380 agreement consist of a 50% sales tax and 50% ad valorem tax reimbursement for a 20-year period that will be recouped in a short period of time, considering I think we had 8.1 years total recap period on the whole development. But if you approve this, the developer is using these incentives to lower the rent for the tenant, which he has already disclosed to you. So we would appreciate your consideration.
Questions, comments, council members? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Chapter 380 agreement to the benefit of IDCAP Manor LLC for the development of 3.95 acre tract in the future Kimbrough Crossing retail development at the northwest corner of US Highway 290 and Old Kimbrough Road in Manor.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Musgrave. Any questions to the motion? No questions. All in favor? Opposed? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 18, consideration, discussion, possible action on a Chapter 3 agreement for a 3.95 acre tract of land, future Kimbrough Crossing retail development at the northwest corner of US Highway 290 and Old Kimbrough Road in Manor, owned by Timmerman Commercial Investments.
Yes. Mayor and council members, this is another 380 agreement that was crafted. This is for another tenant on the 3.95 acre tract just next door to the tract that you just approved a 380 agreement on. And this is for another 55,000 square foot retail tenant whose name has already been disclosed. And this development is a little bit different and does require cash consideration up front in the way of incentive. And that incentive will be used to develop the entire tract. The streets, which will be a public street, the turn lanes that are approved by TxDOT off of 290, the detention pond, sidewalks, and will ready all of the development for complete pad sites for the owner, who will not be the developer, but the owner will be enabled to be able to come in and just develop the entire subdivision or the entire property after these two initial pad sites are developed and completed. So it's actually for the whole development, the new job creation phased over 3 years is 249 jobs of employment. The capital investment is $47.3 million. Average salary payroll is $29,500. And so this gives you, it also plants a stake in Manor as the furthest east retail development that we have. So it will enable a lot of other retailers to develop further east. Where 973 is our goalpost right now, this will push the mark out further and we'll be able to do a lot more retail development. So I'd ask for your consideration for this project.
All right. Question, comments, council members? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Chapter 380 agreement to the benefit of IDCAP Manor LLC for the development of 3.95 acre tract in future Kimbrough Crossing retail development at the northwest corner of US Highway 290 and Old Kimbrough Road in Manor.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Musgrave. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now we'll get to work.
Time is 12:22 on December the 18th. And this meeting is now adjourned.